Okay, so my name is Marcella Di Paolo. I'm from Italy, but I'm based now in Derry. My background is mainly filmmaking, but I've also been interested in upcycling, textile and sewing, creative sewing. And I was lucky I met some people involved in Zero Waste Northwest. So then I became a member of the organization, and since then I've been an advocate of climate action, but mainly about repairing. So because I've been involved since the beginning in the Repair Cafe. So yeah, doing a lot of educational workshops about repairing, the importance of repairing. And when I do this, I think it's really important not to tell people how to live their life or what to do, but to inspire them and empower them, and because the change has to come from within. Objects, they carry history, they carry memories, so it is important it's a kind of honoring our experience, our life, our memory, our history, and also socially reusing, repairing, brings people together. So these events like the Repair Week is a really great opportunity, because also I've seen many of the events, they combine fun and they also teach something. And I think the best way to learn is when you have fun. I got involved in Artitude because as a member of Zero Waste Northwest, I had the chance to take part in some of the workshops, especially one of them was about creative writing. So that's why I thought of a jumper. That would actually, because as I said earlier, our items, they also carry memories and history. So that's why I thought that it would be nice to speak, to let the jumper speak. So then I wrote this story. Paula Larkin, she asked me if I wanted to illustrate the story. And I wasn't really sure, it was the first time, but I was really excited about it. Emer from an iResource Network really loved the story, so she asked me if it was okay to animate it. So that happened, and then, yeah, the story was animated. Through art, you can share not just stories, but ideas. You can see the world from a different perspective. When that happens, then they can really open your mind. Then you can see that things can be done differently, and you can live your life in a different way. So because for repairing, we need a mind shift, and art can have this role. In Zero Waste, we always have this sentence that I like a lot, and it is, be the change you like to see. So that's the thing, is when you do little steps towards that change, then you make a change, and that's the change you want to see.
Good morning, my name is Emer Montague. I am the Executive Director for Northern Ireland Resources Network. The biggest achievement has been the establishment of Northern Ireland Resources Network. This was a pilot project funded by the Department of Agriculture, Environment and Rural Affairs, DERA. And from the success of that initial pilot, we were then given additional funding to set up as a standalone organisation. And the growth of that organisation since we were first incorporated 3 years ago to where now we have nearly 50 members, all local authorities engaged, and now hosting the very first Repair Week in Northern Ireland or even across the UK, I would deem as greatest achievement. Why people need to adapt and reuse and repair is that there was a report done by the Department for Economy 2 years ago looking at how circular Northern Ireland was and how much resources everyone uses. So the average person in Northern Ireland uses 16 tonnes of resources, and the UN says that to live in a more sustainable world, we have to halve that. We have to be using 6 tonnes of resources. The other piece of information that came out of that report is Northern Ireland is 7.2% circular. So again, that indicates that there's a minimal amount of product that is being reused or repaired. If we want to live in a more sustainable world, we need to be reducing down the amount of virgin resources we use, and therefore repair is an important and integral part of that. So we also know that from an environmental perspective, there are so many benefits in embracing repair. If we embrace repair, then we're not using as much new products. And in terms of the amount of new stuff that comes onto the market, there are stats out there that indicate that over 50% of global emissions can be attributed back to consumption, from the extraction, from the manufacturing, the shipping, the use and the waste created. The actions I would like to see happen to further develop repair within Northern Ireland would be, one, what we're currently doing at the moment was having Repair Week, which is raising awareness of the value of repair for Northern Ireland and the people and communities within it. The second one was actually adding it onto the curriculum so that in terms of education at all levels within Northern Ireland, that we become more aware of the importance of repair, but actually, as well as being aware of the importance of repair, learning these valuable skill sets so that, one, we're able to repair for ourselves, but also I see these as very much as being the jobs of the future. And if we do have these skill sets, then we make ourselves more resilient within Northern Ireland. Looking at the global landscape, I think it's important to recognise that there are benefits in us being more resilient. And I think repair is a key part of resilience. So my connection to Artitude is Northern Ireland Resources Networks is one of the partners in the Artitude project. And since actually before inception, before it was called Artitude, meeting regular with the partners and understanding more about how art has a place to play in relation to communicating not just climate action, but circularity and within that repair. Personally, I believe that the arts have a huge role in connecting people with repair. Using your creativity to think how this item can be something more, something personalised, something unique, that actually in buying new doesn't offer you that opportunity. So I think creativity and repair are very much interlinked.
My name is Maeve Leahy. I've trained as a performer, an actor, a theatre maker. Then when I came to Northern Ireland, I got involved with the zero waste community here. So my role within the circular economy would be as a communicator and as a storyteller, song sharer, signpost, basically a signpost to the other services and people and projects that are going on within the circular economy here in the Northwest. So Loopy Lou is a character that I just had an idea for because of through a workshop that I did with Artitude actually, and somebody put on the board, Grania O'Neill I think put on the board the word Loopy, and I thought, that's a great name for a character to just engage with children about the circular economy. So Loopy is very circular in that she repairs and mends her own clothes, she fixes things, and then I have like the hand puppet is called Linny Bin, and she's very much, darling, why are you bothering, with all of this repairing, stop stressing yourself out and just buy a new one, and so she's the linear economy idea of just throwing things away. If I have helped to move one person to see the world differently or to see how they can contribute or join in or in something, if I can inspire one person to change, that is a huge achievement for me. It's not just good for our environment because we have limited resources. We forget that sometimes, that we are going to run out of all these goodies we think will go on forever. It's also good for us. It's good for something in us doesn't feel good throwing things away. Something in us knows that just gets kind of covered up and it's mounting up, We feel good when we repair. We feel it's something in us is fixed as well. And you're also making connections with other people if you go to the likes of the Repair Cafe. It's about belonging, it's about community. You're using those people who have these skills that ordinarily wouldn't be used, they would be lost. And these people are finding a sense of purpose by coming in and teaching those skills to young people who want to know as well and who have the talent and ability to fix and repair. So it's just a very healthy activity for the whole community. My connection to Artitude is I was asked, because of my facilitation background with drama and theatre, to come in and be a facilitator for the circular economy. Also to be a storyteller and song sharer. So I've been doing, as I say, Loopy Loo and Linny Bin, and yeah, facilitating workshops, a wide range of workshops, from helping young people to on the start of their climate activist journeys, to look after themselves as they're on that journey. Without the arts, we don't really get that inspiration. The arts, it engages our imagination, our heart, our minds. It can make sense of things. As well, we need imagination, we need creativity to change the way we are doing things, because it needs to be a huge shift. So we need to be taken there first in our imagination, so that we can then take the action to go there.
Hi, my name's Deirdre Williams and I'm the founder of Stitch Saves 9, which is a sustainable textiles consultancy. Since university, I studied fashion and textiles at Nottingham Trent, and then I went on to work in the industry as a buyer. And then when my third child was born, we moved back to Derry, and I became the business development manager for the Fashion and Textile Design Centre on Chipkey Street. So I was there for probably 6.5 years. During that time, most of my projects had the sustainability element to them, and I saw the value of working with communities and businesses. I think that my years of working as a buyer opened my eyes to probably not such great practices across the world, and when it came to, I suppose, ethical trading and the environment and waste as well. People these days, because clothing is so cheap and accessible, you've got the big high street brands as well, where you can buy a pair of jeans for £8 or something like that, and then you've got these Chinese brands where people think, oh my God, I can get a fully embroidered dress for £3. It's impossible to actually make that garment for £3 and pay somebody a living wage. So there's something wrong there. I also work very closely with Caroline at Repair and Share Foil. We have just come from a project that we've been running with Keep Northern Ireland Beautiful funding. This project, we've brought school students to see local manufacturers and to find out how their businesses are run. As a result of that, the students have learned about the environmental impact of the textile industry, and they have learned about the environmental impact of their own consumer behaviour and overconsumption and things like that. We've also taught them how to make things for themselves, even the basic things like threading a sewing machine and testing the sewing machine and designing, and then actually creating that design as well. So these are things that aren't really taught in school, and we have very few schools that are actually teaching textile skills at the moment, which is quite sad, because it's such a good skill. I think when it comes to repair, actions required are bring back the skills required to actually enable people to mend their clothes, lose the stigma attached to second-hand, and actually repairing and mending. Again, it's a celebration of the clothes that we have and the wardrobe that we have as well. And if something breaks or a button falls off or there's a tear, take pride in the fact that you've actually taken the time to mend it and wear it again instead of discarding it. Visible mending's becoming quite popular again, and which is a great thing, because in some cases we might try and mend a garment and do it perfectly so that it looks like it was originally. But there's this feeling now that people want to wear their mended product as a badge of pride. And that's a great thing as well, you know, because it's allowing people to be creative, and everybody can say, look at me, you know, I'm contributing to the environment, I'm stopping waste, and I'm being quite cool with it at the same time.
So my name's Caroline McGuinness Brooks, and I am a dairy woman. I lived in Brighton for a good many years, moved back to Derry then in December 2020 after lockdown, me and my husband and my son. And shortly after that I applied for a wee job with local charity Zero Waste Northwest to set up a nappy library. So that's where my sort of career change, if you like, from working in a very corporate world over in Brighton to being right in the thick of the community here in Derry all started. I set up and founded Repair Cafe Foyle. We were incubated under the charity I just mentioned, Zero Waste Northwest. And then shortly after that, we had ambitions and dreams to set up the tool library, and eventually became our own individual entity, Repair and Share Foyle. You know, taking over a workshop, we were searching for best part of a year and a half and just kept coming up against, you know, it's too much money, or, you know, there's a perfect space lying empty, but a property developer doesn't want to offer it up. And eventually we did secure funding from the National Lottery, and we secured a perfect premises, which is now home to the Repair Cafe, yes, which still goes out and about, but it's home to the Library of Things and a workshop. So the day and moment that we launched that, and we had the Mayor of Derry come, and, you know, my son and my family and all the volunteers, families, and my old colleagues from Zero Waste Northwest and Northern Ireland Resources Network were all there, and it was just a really proud moment to stand up and say, we've done it, we've found a home. We're always talking about economic growth, but there's a way that we can grow as an economy, but for it to be in a more sustainable way. So I think as a whole in Northern Ireland, we need to be focused on green job creation and apprenticeships as well, especially for social enterprises who are, you know, we might not have social media guru on site and you're juggling everything. Apprenticeships to share the skills, not just the practical skills, but, you know, the other skills that are needed too, and the comms and the marketing, and yeah, we have to start thinking big. The Artitude project is a collaboration between Northern Ireland Resources Network, Derry and Strabane Council, Queen's University Belfast, Zero Waste Northwest, and the Playhouse as the leading partner. We hosted conversation cafes at our repair cafes, which is really, you know, just, it happens naturally at a repair cafe. People come in and they want to talk about this object that needs fixed, be it might have a sentimental value, but the conversation cafes led by Paula and the team at Artitude help to capture those stories, and there's some cracker stories to be told, you know, about somebody's, you know, a doll that they might have had as a child, or even something as, you know, like a lamp, you know, that might have belonged to someone's mother. You know, these things carry stories. It's all in the storytelling, and that's how we connect. I think as human beings, we're so disconnected now by the speed of, you know, being able to click a button and buy online. And, you know, I'll not name some of the bigger companies who are the bigger brands, who they almost create like a game where you get rewarded for spending more. So the arts help us to slow down and reflect and evaluate, but in a creative way to celebrate, I think, to celebrate reuse and repair.